Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Tran and I have been going back and forth watching some things that have nothing to do with the video we're getting ready to make. So we're trying to compose ourselves and get into the content. Tran, get your mind off of what was offline and let's get online, brother.
We're good to go.
All right. So we with all the stuff that happened at the end of the season, and before I even get into what this video is about, make sure you hit the like button. We're about to talk some Texas football here. Hit that like button, hit subscribe. We're almost like 1,500 people away from 10,000 subscribers. Help us on our journey to get there. It's a big goal for our channel. Really appreciate all you guys that are helping us on the journey to 10K. So hit the like, subscribe button, share with your friends. We appreciate it. But in terms of the video today, we're going to be doing our top 10 Longhorn players of 2020. We do this at the end of every season, but with this end of season, it was so crazy, and we got a new coach, and the other coach got fired. The whole situation, you guys may have heard about it. So we got sidetracked with all that. But coming back, getting to what we normally do on the channel, we do need to tie a bow on the season and talk about who the top guys were and show some love, Tran. So sound good to everybody? Sound good to you?
Absolutely.
Before we get into that, I think we had some news from the Combine today, or the NFL Combine, I think it's virtual only. So Tran, I think when I hear that, it makes me worry about people like Brennan Eagles. And Caden Stern's not as much, Brennan Eagles more so, because his whole thing is going to be based around his workout. And guys like that who opt in, and there's, again, a lot of uncertainties in this COVID time. It's going to be tough. Now, I think he'll still get opportunities for pro days and whatnot, but just one less opportunity. So just wanted to get your thoughts on the Combine situation before we get into our top 10.
So, it's to people like you and I, that's kind of a 3-day weekend during the week.
Yeah.
It's something that we have on in the background just to see different measurements, because it's crazy to see how razor thin two athletes can be, and just the perception that one athlete has over the other, and that's what gets them drafted higher. It's really interesting to me. So not having that, it definitely, I don't necessarily think it will hurt the evaluation portion, because they will stress highly the pro day aspect of it, and I don't know if that's going to be virtual as well, where they actually have people there timing it or doing physically doing whatever measurements they're doing and what drills they're doing, because they could watch a defensive back flip his hips during the drills and things like that. But just making sure that the 40 times are right and everything's accurate that way. So that's the only thing is, from a, I guess, a consumer or a armchair quarterback perspective, that's it kind of stinks for us. It definitely stinks for some of the players that are on the edge of, they could go up draft boards if they have a really good combine workout, like you said, at Brennan Eagles, because I think Brennan Eagles will test very well. So I think that they're just doing virtual interviews for that, right?
That's what it sounds like from what I've read. But it to your point though about the pro days, man, if a particular team can't make it there, or I think these teams, we'll see how they manage those few months, right, of where they assign staff, or it used to be you bring people into your building too, and all sorts of things. So now we'll see how they navigate it. I mean, they had to do it last year to a certain extent. Now they still were able to have the combine last year, but a lot of people's pro days got canceled in 2020. So they may have a better handle on how to handle and navigate it this year. But it's going to be interesting. So just something to keep your eye on, college football fans, over the spring. Just wanted to mention that. For those of you who are like, where's the defensive coordinator video? Where's the defensive coordinator? So once y'all know who the DC is, we can make a defensive coordinator video. I'm not going to sit here and speculate on all the myriad of names that are out there, then we, I don't know what's going on. I mean, we saw Jeremy Pruitt got fired today, and we're not going to go into that because it's craziness, but there's some big names out there that are in the mix. And we see, I think LSU's settling on the guy from the Saints. So that's one team out the way. But between us, Alabama, whatever happens with Tennessee, there's a lot of stuff going on. So when we get the news and it's getting ready to get confirmed, trust me, we will be here to react. I am ready to tie a bow on the staff and move forward. But right now,
I think we all are.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Signing day is right around the corner, so we need to get that locked up as soon as possible.
Yeah, and it's a holding pattern right now. I get it from Sark and CDC's vantage point. You want who you want, and there's a path to get the people or the person you want, but you're gonna have to wait for certain dominoes to fall. I get it, but when that happens, we will have the content for you. Now, recapping last season. So there's two things we did at the beginning of the 2020 season. We each had a list, which we'll show you guys real brief clip of our video from before the season started of each of our lists for our top 10 players. And before that, we do 5 breakout players. So I quickly want to recap the 5 players we broke out. And then Tran, you can tell me, if we hit or miss on any guys, right? So our 5 were Alfred Collins, Bijan Robinson, Joshua Moore, Chris Adamore, and Jake Smith. So out of that 5, Tran, what are you thinking there in terms of how we did with our breakout players?
So just to reiterate that you went 5-1. So Jake Smith was our
Correct.
number 1 breakout player. That would be the only name that I wouldn't put on there. I think Adamore is our best cover guy right now. I think he's a star in the making. He's one of my favorite defensive backs. I even said that in the video, I think. Joshua Moore is, I mean, he had 9 touchdowns. That production when he got left out and he was forgotten about for so long, really long stretches. Bijan legitimately only played 5 games, if you think about it, and he led our team in rushing. So, I mean, that's a check. And Alfred Collins, I mean, he made some of the most athletic plays that I've seen. One of the most athletic interceptions from a defensive lineman that I've ever seen. A one-handed Odell Beckham-ish interception.
Against Colorado, yeah.
He had a couple pass breakups. He almost had a pick 6 against Iowa State that I'm sure he wanted that one back because he played that. I think it was a quick out that he just dropped into coverage and he almost picked it out, which shows to me that he's going to be absolutely a force to reckon with, because if you can drop a lineman like him into coverage like that and make sure that he actually has the distance to cover, he's dangerous, because you don't know whether he's going to be blitzing or not.
Athleticism that he has, that basketball background, and he's an explosive athlete. So those guys, I think Bijan definitely broke out, no doubt about it. Other guys, Joshua Moore, very good season for all things considered that he had to personally deal with. Alfred Collins, definitely, somebody who we're going to expect I would say going into next season, don't be surprised if he's on the top 10 of people for 2021, right? Chris Adamore, solid. I look at him as solid. I don't know if he's, breakout, you could define that a myriad of ways. You could say, oh, well, he's not all conference or anything like that. But in terms of for what we needed, he did stabilize that position. Thought he played it very well. Anthony Cook played well too, though, in the time that he got behind him. So very interesting. I think the guy where it's just like, all right, it was a disappointment for a lot of reasons with Jake Smith. Yes. Came into the season, battled, the hamstring acts up, and it was a recurring problem. Injury slows him down. Reps, fall down. Jordan Whittington started coming back and playing a little bit, and we had the whole just never got comfortable in the slot with that whole group. And he had moments. Oklahoma State was, big game for him, and some other games where he, was able to show his stuff and had flashes of even the guy we saw his freshman year. But overall, even finishing the season in the bowl game, he wasn't really involved very much. So something to keep an eye on. We're at some point we're going to have to start looking at who are the guys that are going to benefit the most from the coaching change. That could be somebody that's on the list, right? Like right off the bat, Bijan Robinson benefits from the coaching change.
Yes.
Joshua Moore benefits from the coach. Like those two names right off the bat, okay, like they're, and you can even add maybe some of the tight ends.
I was going to say Wiley.
Yeah, that weren't really showcased. But Jake Smith, health-wise, if he's there and available, could see a potential uptick in terms of how the wide receivers will be used in Steve Sarkisian's offense. But to your point, Tran, that was a miss for us, obviously, from being the number one breakout player.
Who would you replace him on postseason?
I mean, we technically didn't have Overshown on the breakout players list. We did include Overshown in our preseason list. Yeah. So, I mean, if you wanted to include Overshown there, then I think that would have probably been the guy we would have replaced him with, to answer your question. So, yeah, those were our breakout guys. Now, before we get into our current list, so we each did our own list before the season started, and that was fun to do. We're not going to do that here post week. We have debriefed together and come up with the collective list that we're both comfortable with that we will go through. But Tran, I did want to kind of go back in time to September when there was some hope in our eyes. Let me bring that up here real quick. We had a little bit more hope. Look at us, looking at each other's eyes like, man, we're going to be good.
At 2 o'clock in the morning.
2 o'clock in the morning. Dog tired. So
for future classes and what it means for development.
Some of you guys can see just the list that Tran had and I had.
I've seen dudes go from,
oh man, it's weird watching ourselves
wherever they were, whether it was Joe Burrow, who I think Todd McShay had him around the 6th round.
But anyway, I just wanted to play that real quick.
I thought you said it. I thought you look. Even look at this pause. But I thought you said we had hope in our eyes. Look at me.
Oh no!
It's Trent, like I foreshadowed.
This is when he realized things are not what they seem to be. It was at this moment.
We're keeping it real went wrong. Hello, he paused it right at that spot, too.
Right at the spot. Like, you checked out, man. You were like, bro, we ain't going to the Big 12 championship game, bro. I can feel it. You didn't want to tell us. You still had your COVID situation here on your face.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And thinking about what the weather's going to be.
Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh. Anyway, these were our list coming into the season. You can see maybe some things we got right and some things we got very wrong. We could show some of the list y'all put down in the comments as well, so we could own it and be wrong together. But yeah, I mean, this is what we had coming into the season. We both had Sam Ellinger number 1, and then for the most part, we had pretty much kind of the same players. I didn't have Chris Brown. You didn't have Keontae Ingram.
Organization.
And then the rest of it was just different organization. But just wanted to show everybody what we're working with coming into the season. All right. So let me get rid of that clip. So now, without further ado, now that everybody knows where we're at, Tran, who is our number 10 player postseason? So season concluded 2020. Who's our number 10 player?
Joshua Moore.
Joshua Moore, welcome to our the Fanatic Perspective Top 10.
Mm-hmm. So I know people are going to think that he disappeared for such long stretches. He got injured, and that's valid. But he did put up pretty respectable numbers, especially when our offense did stagnate. And we have to honestly look at ourselves in the mirror with clear eyes and not the Texas hat on. And honestly, who is better than him on this team right now?
Well,
I mean, we'll go over it. I mean, to deserve a top 10 spot. Who?
Oh, gotcha.
Well, we'll go over it after we list the other nine players. But once you see the other 9 players postseason, you'll see that he definitely was one of the top 10 players.
There's some people you might be able to make a case for, but in our opinion, to me, it was where it came down to was it was really difficult to argue with somebody who had 9 touchdowns in 10 games. And, again, the inconsistency was there on his end. The inconsistency offensively with the quarterback, with the play calling, the whole scheme, everything was messy at times. We had our highs, we had our lows, but at the end of the day, and even in the bowl game, he's an immense threat when he gets those opportunities. He had a bevy of highlight reel catches this year, run after catch. He's an explosive
first
player.
Play of the season.
First play of the season. Mm-hmm.
75-yard touchdown. So I mean, he's an electric player. He's an athletic player. I think they said something 40+ inch vertical.
Mm-hmm. One of the fastest guys on the team. Look, and here's the other thing too, right? Like, stats are going to be weird because we only played 10 games. We didn't play Kansas, so who knows what the stats would look like if we had played 11 games with Kansas in there, right? But respectively, like, and we'll have some of the stats here on the screen, but 30 catches, 472 yards, 9 touchdowns. So he had 9 touchdowns on 30 catches, right? Yeah. That's what, 1 out of every 3? Is that good math? Almost 1 out of every 3.
Yep.
Are we safe here?
Roughly.
Yeah, roughly. Right. So that's good money there. Yeah. It's just getting him the ball more and getting him some of those opportunities. And the guy that's coming here just worked with Mr. All Everything, Devonta Smith. And I know a lot of people have been making some comparisons. Devonta Smith is a generational type player, in my opinion, from a college football perspective, because there's nothing. He was a flawless football player, essentially. And Joshua Moore has many flaws and is not that type of football player. However, there are a lot of traits that are similar to Devonta.
Athletic characteristics, like he checks all the boxes. I mean, the only thing that Devonta does that's just so much better than him is he catches the ball at a higher rate than him, and his breaks,
catches too.
Yeah, his breaks and his how he gets off the ball too. So if someone's trying to jam him at the line, he smacks their hands off, and he's 3 yards past them right then and there. I think that happened on his first touchdown pass where he just did a quick little 9 route, and they caught him and he was gone. So that's the thing, is that he won't get jammed at the line. So that's the one thing that Joshua Moore needs to work on, catching the ball, contested catching. And I think a little bit he does need a little route running work.
Improvement,
as well.
Yeah. That'll come with time. And Devonta was an older player, but the Devonta is one of those people, like I said, I was like, Marvin Harrison, Jerry Rice type of mentality as a football player, at least at the collegiate level, where it's just like, I've never seen that before. So I think it's fair for them to show him everything here's what greatness looks like. But us, expectation wise, we have to be very careful with that. Now with that being said, he's in our top 10 right now in the old offense, in the old scheme, because he did flash a bunch, and he had production. He led this team in every receiving category, so in every major receiving category, and I think he even wears the same number as Devonta, number 6,
Mm-hmm.
and I think him potentially getting some more slot work. If you guys remember, he was our slot receiver when we first got here, and then they moved him to the outside. So moving him in and out the way that they do at Alabama, where everybody, they don't pigeonhole their guys. I think that's only going to benefit somebody like a Joshua Moore even more, with people not getting their hands on him. Maybe you eliminate the jam issues by just never putting him in a position to get
getting
jammed.
him in open space.
Yeah. All the motion and all that. So I think the sky's the limit for that brother. He still has another 2 years to show off, 3 years to show off his gift. So, but welcome to the top 10, Joshua Moore. Now at number 9, I think we called audible here, but I think we ended up going with Deshawn Jameson, corner / kick returner extraordinaire.
And I think it's more so his kick returning ability for this year. He's still learning the cornerback position. I think he's going to be a great player once he starts utilizing his talents of attacking the ball like he used to do, like he did 2 years ago. I think he's going to be an all-conference player at a cornerback position. But he just flipped some games for us. The Oklahoma State game, we were almost dead to rights, and then he returns that kickoff, the 100-yard kickoff. Still upset about that penalty, but he returned that. And there was a couple that got called back that what wasn't even his issue. He was making great plays, and something away from the ball caused him not getting that. I think he returned a punt too for a touchdown, and then one to the 1 yard line. I mean, he has that ability to just flip games, just and the momentum in games, and that's why we had him in our top 10.
Yeah, and he was actually projected first team All Big 12 at corner. And the drop off, really, not that he wasn't productive at corner from a standpoint of like giving up big plays or anything of that sort, but when you look at in terms of just the interception numbers, turnover numbers, that we didn't get those turnovers that we expected to get from him. He did tackle well, and he was actually graded out better towards the end of the season in coverage. So he was improving for sure. But I think the leap that he was expected to make as a corner hasn't quite happened yet. But as Tran pointed out, his value is double because he's also one of the best kick returners.
He may be the most athletic guy on our team, honestly, all around. There was a joke I know in one of the lives that Tran wants him at D tackle, like just put him everywhere on the field. But he's still so young in the position that I think just given time and given the proper work, he's going to be a star.
Absolutely. Number 8 player, who we got?
Keadrick Coburn. Snacks.
Your boy, man. Go ahead.
I think him and also the number 7 on our list. They are the reason why that got our defense so good. I can't recall how many 5+ yards up the middle run plays we gave up because of him stuffing it. What it caused us to do was cause people to bounce out, which we're happy with that because we have athletes on the keep and contain. Mr. Joseph Osai, Mr. Overshone, and then our defensive backs were pretty physical as well in the run game. So just him clogging that middle, it just makes life so much easier. To the point where Overshone even switched his profile pics to Keadrick Coburn today.
He did.
So he's giving respect to where he's going to be the guy who's going to make him cash checks.
I think with Coburn, what was awesome was just how he led that interior unit, and there was a lot of good leaders there. Taequan Graham, but the young guys that they had behind him, Sweat and Alfred Collins, guys who they commanded great performances out of them. He wasn't always lined up to next to Taequan Graham. Sometimes he was lined up next to Alfred Collins, or if they slid Ojomo inside at times, like just the variations that they did. But how he just seemed to be the point man in there. And like you said, I never felt like, some of those rushing performances that, whether it was the Chuba Hubbards or the Brees Halls, us having so much success against that, Keadrick Coburn is the head of that, right? And like you said, veering a lot of that traffic outside, so our athletes could fly to that, and playing outside. Like, even, we gave up some stuff early in the season that was frustrating. In the TCU game, we gave up the draws and whatnot. But what TCU keyed in on was those jet sweeps in the outside zone, and teams were keying on those things to test us because of how stout 99 and those boys were in the middle. So what I'm looking to see from Coburn, for him to rise, because he's kind of falling in the same area that we had him, where he's one of our best players on our team. But in order for him to rise and become, even potentially the NFL prospect I think he can be, is bumping up some of that aggression in the pass rush game. And I know it's difficult at times, especially if you're in there on first and second down and all sorts of things. But I think he has the athletic ability to do it. Tran, what I'm curious to see, he has the motor, for sure. What I'm curious to see is what they decide to do with some of these dudes' bodies. Bo Davis now being on the staff, and a new strength and conditioning coach, because we know that the old regime favored them all getting massive. They were trying to bulk them up, right? And same thing with Sweat. A lot of these guys got a lot bigger when they were here. Very curious to see if they keep them around the 350 range, or if they're saying, hey, we want y'all 335, right? So to be TBD, just like the defensive coordinator video. We'll see. But we got Coburn there at number 8. Number 7 is one of his running buddies, Taequan Graham, who shout out to Rage Cactus, who commented on the video before the season and said, hey, Taequan Graham's a captain. How come neither of you guys had him on the list? Well, based upon what we had seen, I didn't think Graham deserved to be on the list. Not saying he was a bad player or anything. It was just, one of the things I didn't necessarily forecast the production he had. And people like Rage Cactus, Bill Curlin out there, I give you guys a lot of credit, because y'all were the ones before the season saying, hey, he's a good player. This defense, Chris Ash, the running a little bit more 4-2-5, 4-3, he'll be able to just kind of get off in the one gapping type stuff and do his thing and be more productive. Tran, that's exactly what we found out and saw from Taequan Graham. He had an outstanding senior year for us.
Yeah, he did. Forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, being on the ball. One of the things is, I know he preseason, he was a captain, but he actually was the first one that I saw on the team to actually hold people accountable. I remember I think it was the TCU game where we gave up a big play and we're at the goal line, and Juwan Mitchell tackled him 2 yards short, and he got in the guy's face, and he pulled him off and got into Juwan Mitchell's face and was basically saying, hey, we got to keep we've got a goal line stop right here. They're right here on the goal line. We got to keep our heads in the game. Just holding the players accountable, doing what a captain's supposed to do, and then also leading by example. I mean, he produced this year. He was at one point probably into the 5th game. He was probably our best defensive lineman at the time. So I'm not considering Osai defensive line. I'm considering him a hybrid. But even more so than Coburn. And I kind of want Coburn to have some of Taequan's little mean streak in him this year, where he's just unstoppable. So I'm extremely humbled by not picking him, because I'm all about the big uglies and how games are won. And I'm glad he's gonna probably get himself drafted this year because of how well he played.
I think he is gonna get himself drafted. He's the reason why the defensive line graded as well as they did. Excuse me, throughout the entire season, and just his impact, screen game, run game, pass rush. Joseph Osai was a big part of that because he started to command so much attention that other people started eating. Totally justified. But when you watch them up front, especially on film, and some of the stuff you can't really put into a stat sheet, even how they hit and tackled, like you said, forcing fumbles, getting around the quarterback, hands up, forcing deflections. He was the leader of the disruption of that interior unit, and he will be missed. He was a very, very good player, very, very good captain, excellent senior year for Taequan Graham. Moving forward, another captain, or not a captain, but another senior, who I'll do this one because I didn't have him on my list before the season, and he was like my 10B, if you will, but I didn't put him on. He didn't make the final cut for me, but he made it again because I think he made the postseason list last year, and it's Chris Brown. And Chris Brown, second team, all Big 12 at safety, and excellent year. And I know people get caught up in the flex on him, CB, and all that type of stuff. I love it. He brought an energy and a ferocity and also a professional level of coverage back there. You're talking about Chris Adamore being good in coverage, but Chris Brown, I never saw him get freaked out on a deep ball. And it was time to come in. He always seemed to know when it was play the ball versus play the man. And he was fantastic on run fits, angles, all that stuff, and a very, very physical enforcer back there for us. Chris Brown is our number 6 player on the list.
Mm-hmm. Well, the only thing I have to say is he was the highest graded safety by Pro Football Focus. I mean, he played great. He's going to get a lot of attention because of that one tackle that ran where they rushed for 20 yards and he flexed after the tackle. But after hearing his reasoning behind it, that's what gets him hyped, and he tries to get everyone else hyped from that. It's understandable. I get it.
I don't agree with him for that reasoning, but I also don't. That's where you have to be good as a coach, because I don't want him to turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But also, defensive backs are notorious for being the no reason to be confident guy. It's like, and you have to have that.
you know that better than anybody else, man. Y'all, because
we can talk so much crap and get burnt 15 times, but if there's an underthrown ball, you're talking trash all day long. Yeah, you gotta love it. I mean,
lockdown. It's like, bro, stop it. It's so annoying because I still, in my mind, I'm always gonna be an offensive guy as a quarterback, and I'm seeing a lot of people having the offense versus defense conversations today because with what happened in the divisional playoffs and the fumble in the Browns game, and you have all the people that are DBs arguing with all the people that played offense, and they're like, let us have this one rule. And so I get it. Like, you have to have that fake confidence sometimes, fake it till you make it, because it is a unforgiving position. You have no idea where the ball's going most of the time, and you get back there, you're covering a guy, and all it takes is one slip up and you could be giving up 6. So guys like that, I get it. It's also just like, bro, your situational awareness, that's all I'm asking for, right? Like, if I was a coach, I wouldn't even yell at him, because John Thompson, the late John Thompson, used to say, like, it's so much easier for me to try to tone down somebody than it is to try to wake up a kid that's lifeless. I can't make somebody be passionate or enthusiastic about the game, but I can work with the dude that's a little two-turn, right? Like
maybe not on a 20-yard run.
All right, it's time for the top 5. Top 5. Dylan. Anyway,
think about it.
Who's 5, Tran?
Overshown.
Marmion Overshown. Welcome to the top 5. I think we had him at the 10-9 range before the season. So for Overshown made a jump.
Mhm.
What did you see from him to warrant him moving up to the top 5? Because we actually have him ahead. I think that might be controversial, having him ahead of Chris Brown, especially since Chris Brown was an all-conference performer this year, and Overshown was honorable mention.
Overshown played every single game. His just football IQ is off the charts. I call him Mr. PER because his player efficiency rating is just amazing. Once the game started slowing down for him, you saw how amazing he is at this position. It's like he was born for him, especially with the way that the NFL is going and the way college is going. Having to have that jack of all trades linebacker who could cover, play the run, blitz, is long, lean, athletic. He checks all those boxes. And I mean, you saw how he played in the bowl game.
He was defensive MVP.
And he had he had a pick, he had a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery in that game. It's fantastic. I mean, that's probably the second best game of the year by a defensive player.
I think he's the guy. We talk about guys having the program, the face of the program, so to speak, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit with some players coming up. But when it comes to Overshown, I felt like Osai was like the face of the defense. It was like the marquee player. And yes. I felt like after Osai opted for the draft, and we said this in our bowl prep, it's Overshown's defense now. He's got to own this side of the ball in terms of what this group, how they respond. And I think we got a really good glimpse of that in the bowl game. Now, I am excited, not concerned, but because I think he's at a point where he will be able to just ball in any defense. But the way that he was being coached by Chris Ash and Coleman Hutzler, he really came a long way in a short period of time. And now there's just a lot of uncertainty with what we're going to be doing. Now, I don't doubt that whatever we do and whoever's coaching him is going to be top notch based upon the way Sark is putting the staff together. But, Coleman Hutzler, they announced today he's going to Ole Miss. And I know for a fact Overshown paid a lot of, hey, we spent a lot of time together, long nights going over things, and it just connected with him. Just connected with him. And Coleman Hutzler, best of luck to you at Ole Miss. And he's definitely going to be missed. I thought he was one of our best position coaches this year. And Overshown is one of the reasons why. The growth that you mentioned, Tran, exceptional.
Well, he turned what we thought it was a preseason weak point of our team to
a strength.
Probably one of our strengths. Yes.
Heading into it's a strength now. And I know one of the guys that's not on this list, but turned it around himself, Juwan Mitchell.
Juwan Mitchell. Yep.
Yes. And they helped each other at times. So I have no problem with
one person
with
we're also not talking about. I know we're talking more so about Overshown, but we're talking about Hutzler as well. At that point, is that Hutzler coached up Dorba. So we haven't really got to see Dorba. So I want to see what that's going to look like. Maybe Overshown has a clone of him right behind him. We'll see.
Well, Dorba's going to be more of on the outside though, behind Osai.
Osai, yeah.
Yeah, but I still think that Dorba is going to be probably my favorite, even over Reese Latau, if they decide to still keep that type of position to play there. Overshown is a unique player. We don't have another dude that's 6'4". I mean, I guess the next closest person would be if they were having to move Tyler Owens. But there's not a whole bunch of people out there like that with his abilities. It's a very, very unique football player. So that's our number 5. Now we're going to go into the top 4, and this is probably the part of the video where people start to start scratching their head, but let us explain this out. So number 4, we're going to have Sam Ellinger. And we all love Sam. Y'all, if you haven't checked out our video of when he declared for the 2021 draft, please check that out. Just we're thankful for what he gave this program the last 4 years. Definitely left it in a better place than which he found it. We also had Sam as our number 1 player 2 straight years. And I think this is just it's a microcosm of what, the program was. Good, but not good enough. And that was kind of how I look at Sam's senior year. Just his senior year. It was good. The stats are there. Stats are good. Like the stats, I can make an argument that he should have been first team all Big 12 over Brock Purdy if we're doing that. Now, personally, I know people are going to get mad. I personally think, really looking back at it, it should have been Spencer Rattler, who was first team, and he's the one that got screwed. But Brock Purdy got taken care of because of they used team metrics for an individual award. But Sam, the stats were there, but we know watching the games in and out, Tran, we had those inconsistencies. And it was just, whether it was guys getting the football or, his inconsistency to pick up first downs or too many stalls, things of that sort. And
taking an unnecessary sack.
Taking unnecessary sacks.
Yeah.
Whether he really fully picked up the Yurcich offense, because he did have to go through a offensive change, and ultimately it wasn't good enough. He's still number 4 because of the volume in which he carries on this team, and which the Oklahoma game, it was a one-man band at the end of the game in those overtimes. Let's just be honest, right? So
yeah, he willed the team. Oklahoma State, he played great. I mean, for the most part, the biggest games of the years, he actually played pretty well. Iowa State missed a couple passes. Wasn't top notch or anything like that.
I thought he started the Iowa State game well. But the other thing here, because this is also why some people dropped out of our top 10s, injuries. And I think that did affect his performance. The injuries he was dealing with. I think it clearly affected how he threw the ball, and I think it affected how he ran the ball. I think a healthier Sam Ellinger picks up that 4th and 1 in the Iowa State game. I don't think he just gets tackled by a dude like that and goes straight down. I think he would have lunged forward and really tried to extend, right? But when you're dealing with the internal injuries he had, and his career unfortunately ended with an injury. So the injuries were the story here, and it moves him down. Ingram I had on my list. He goes out in the Oklahoma State game. His last play as a Texas Longhorn is him scoring a touchdown on a sprained ankle. Keontae Ingram. Roshan Johnson I had in my top 10. Roshan Johnson battled, didn't even look like the same running back at times because of the injuries he was battling, right? So those were significant issues for us with those players. And I know Sam didn't miss time until the bowl game occurred, but it's there were guys who just had better performances this year, and I think it just is what it is, and we have to move him down to 4.
Yeah.
Tran, if
still
you want
top
to add
5
to that, yeah,
he's still top 5. No, I mean we've spoken in nauseum at Ellinger. I'm a huge fan of his. Day one. It just this wasn't his best year. So, number 3, we have the only one that this is the only one that neither of us had on, right? Besides Joshua Moore, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, besides Joshua Moore, nope, we didn't have him on our top 10 list coming into the season.
Number 3, the face of the program.
So we're handing the ball. So Sam Ellinger hands the ball off to Bijan Robinson, right?
Yep.
And now we're looking at Bijan Robinson as our number 3 player on the Fanatic Perspective Countdown. And some may say that's wow. We have a guy on here who missed not missed the whole, but was it started the season 3rd string and
wasn't technically a factor. until
later in the season.
Yeah.
But when you look at, I mean, the performances, the buzz, and let me ask you this, just stepping away from because we started going into the Ricky Williams stuff. Don't you think it's interesting how quickly beloved he's become by Texas fans, even though he's not technically a Texas boy? Because Ricky was like that. Because Ricky was from San Diego.
Yeah, he was from California.
Yeah, and so it's like, it's really interesting, like, how adopted he's become. And I think that's just because of, who he is and obviously him, what the reasons he chose to come to Texas.
Well, the thing is, we're not fair weather. I mean, we are fair weather fans as Texas, but we're not stupid fans. So when we saw this guy, we knew at one point in high school he was averaging 19 yards a carry, and it wasn't against a BS competition. It was against teams like Keely Ringo's teams. People. They're big time players coming from Arizona as of late. And we haven't had a guy like this since Jonathan Gray, and all of us were Jonathan Gray, I saw before he even stepped foot on campus, a whole bunch of 32 jerseys all around campus. So I mean, we saw the talent there. We knew what we had. We knew it was a ball of clay, but we didn't know that it was a shaped ball of clay this early. And then once we saw it in that West Virginia game, everyone was bought in.
Absolutely.
He's like, everyone saw that he could do it at a big time level this early. And now we're just extremely excited about him.
He's finished over 700 yards rushing on only 85 carries, like 8.2 yards
a carry.
8 yards a carry. Another 13 yards.
If we played Kansas,
catch.
He'd be over 1,000 probably.
well, maybe not.
Yeah,
because the coaches. No. I mean, it's reasonable to ask.
Yeah.
I think that's a reasonable question to ask. Like, if we had played Kansas and we had the 11th game, how many yards would he have broken 1,000 yards? Because
I don't think so. Maybe 150 to 200 yards.
And the reason why that is one of the things you want to add on to the coaching staff was his touches, and that was the number one thing people were frustrated when it came to Bijan. He's not getting the ball enough. We have times where, hey, second quarter starts, we'll go through the whole second quarter like the bowl game, and we look up and he has 5 carries for the half or 5 touches for the half, and it's like, Tom, Stan, like, what's going on? Like, why aren't we getting involved? And I don't mind, and I'll still hold to this. I do not mind rotating backs. I think that's a way. I don't mind that. I really don't. Like, there's too many models out there that have shown the success behind that. And people talking about Najee Harris and the way Sark fed him this year. If you go and look at per game, yes, he was at a decent number of touches every single game. And in the big game, Sark really fed him, right? Like, we're talking about 25, 30 touches. But throughout the weeks, there were two things here.
18 touches a game,
18,
right?
20 touches a game. So it wasn't anything crazy. It's not like they were loading up all these miles on Najee Harris. It's just that he was showcased. He was featured. They didn't forget about him. And our Mike Yursich and Tom and them, we would just completely forget that he's on our team at times. That's what's frustrating. So, I don't mind. Roshan Johnson needs to play. When Keontae Ingram was here, they need to play. I'm not that person that's like, oh, I want to load the guy up with 1 million touches and we break him down, right? And anything like that. But it's just being aware of, like, you got to feed the hot hand. And you got to feature this guy in the passing game. You can't just be, we're handing him the ball up the middle. Like, they figured out the outside zone stuff for him later in the season. They got really good at blocking up front. That was the other frustration for me. Was okay, when he does get the touches like Iowa State, we're not blocking it. And then just the moments where we will block anything, he's gone, right? And so that's how good he is. If you give him anything up front, and I think guys next year are going to be excited on the offensive line
to block for him
because this is a guy who's going to be, preseason Doak Walker watch list. He's going to be on the face of all the programs that you get, before the game. It's going to be, one of the people that's featured on Dave Campbell magazine, all sorts of things, right? And so that's the type of prospect that Bijan is and is developing into. But the other thing is this too: Mac Jones didn't run at Alabama, so and anytime it was short yardage, they're going to give the ball to the running back. Our team, we used our quarterback for a lot of those things.
Short yardage, yeah.
How many times was Bijan on the field and we used him as a lead blocker for Sam? So we also have to factor in, like, Sam, I think, had, if you take away the sacks, he had 22 sacks. He would have had 91 true rushing attempts, whether it was scrambles or designed runs. Bijan had 85 and Roshan had 80. So that's a lot of volume that went to the quarterback running the ball. Versus Alabama, I don't know how many times Mac Jones ran the ball. You see what I'm saying? So if some of that volume there just moves over to your backs, I don't think we're having the same conversation about getting people enough touches, if that makes sense. I agree. All right, anyway, Bijan's a star. It's his program now. He's in my opinion, our marquee player.
So was he was just announced a freshman All-American, right?
By ESPN, true freshman All-American.
Yeah. Awesome. Congrats.
Yeah. So the accolades are going to roll in for him. And we're doing this after the bowl games too. So he was the offensive MVP, bowl game MVP for the Alamo Bowl against Colorado. Overshown was defensive MVP. But sky's the limit for this brother, man. The last two people are people that are leaving the program, but finished with all Big 12 honors. Number 2 on our list is Samuel Cosby, left tackle. And Tran, I know the offensive line had a rough year.
He didn't.
Go ahead, Tran.
He didn't. He was definitely the bright spot. He was the leader of the team. It seemed like such a humble young man. He has a mean streak in him. I love to see it when he pancakes people. I think Pro Football Focus had him ranked the number 1 left tackle. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I mean, I think he was up there. He was at least in the top 3 in terms of grades.
I don't know. I know it was in single digits, but his whole career he only gave up single digit sacks. I mean, what more can you say about him? He played a season that he didn't have to play because he was getting first round grade at the beginning of the year, and he could have sat out and just worked for the combine. Tried to play for a Big 12 championship, fell short of that goal, and and it wasn't due to effort from him. And I'm appreciative that we're gonna finally have a hopefully, knock on wood, hopefully have a first round offensive lineman drafted in the first round. I'm pretty sure he'll be a first or second rounder, regardless.
I'm hoping he goes first round.
I'm hoping first,
especially with the combine.
Last I saw was 17. Last I saw was a projected 17. But first, early second, we haven't had that type of prospect come out of Texas in a long time, years, almost
2002.
Decade.
2002.
2 decades, almost 2 decades.
Mike Williams was the last offensive lineman. So,
So for him to produce like this for us. And hopefully he goes and gets that high draft grade.
Get paid.
Yes, sir. Get that guaranteed.
There you go. But he was all conference, and like you said, came up short on the team goal, which we know how much it meant to him and all the other guys that left. Caden Stearns, I know, meant a ton to him. I know it meant a ton to Brennan Eagles, like all these guys that were on the team. But with Cosby, his performance didn't dip. I think the biggest thing that we missed on was when we were running the football, we seemed not to run enough to that
The left
side.
side. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was something that was puzzling. We did seem to be more favorable to running towards the right side, but pass pro and some of the guys he went up against this season, there were a lot of good defensive ends in the conference, and he held his own every single time.
One thing
So
we have with the argument of with one of our friends about conference prestige and things like that, and teams who are trying to crack the playoffs, is the teams that don't leave no doubt. Well, this year he left no doubt that he's one of the top offensive tackles this year. So
yeah, best of luck to Sam Cosby moving on to the NFL, but he's our number 2 player on the top 10 2020. I think at this point everybody knows who number 1 is. Consensus All-American Joseph Osai is our number 1 player, rightfully so. I said this, I think it was after the OU game, as angry as I was, and I remember breaking my light and all the chaos was going on. I said then, I was like, he's the best player on the field on either team. And that it only continued to go on. And that was before the all-timer he put on against Oklahoma State.
Yep.
Where that's as close as you can get to a defensive player winning a game on his own. And that's the type of season he had. And I think the stats don't even do him justice, Tran. The stats really don't do him justice as to how disruptive a player as he was. The energy he brought game in, game out. When your peers talk about you the way that they do, when your coaches talk about you the way that you do, and the juice that he was bringing to practices. Unbelievable season for Joseph Osai. Tran, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
No, I was going to you for Osai.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, yeah, you froze up for a second. I apologize. Yeah,
Okay.
no, just to touch a little bit, like you're talking about, the teammates, the coaching staff. One of the biggest compliments a player can get is the opposing coaching staff. So when everyone circles number 46 on the board, you have to know where he's at all time.
Mhm.
That's the biggest compliment anyone can get. He was absolutely he was our best player. I think I predicted that he could be a player that could go for the 10 sack. How far off was he from that? He was 5. Do you think he could have done that with the extra 3-4 games? Possibly.
I think possibly, but
Possibly.
the thing is too, with the sacks, it's the disruption. Like we had, our sack rate wasn't even that great this year, but we also didn't blitz a whole bunch. It was more so, keep things in front. And I think that was kind of just where we were coming off of with the Todd Orlando scheme. I do think that that's something that whoever the new defensive coordinator is, and you look at Bo Davis's metrics in 2021 of what he can potentially bring, the sack rate with guys up front does go up when he seems to be the position coach. But his impact in the run game, right? Or when he lines up in the A gap and people freak out and all their alignments are off, and then Overshown gets a sack or Juwan Mitchell gets a sack. Like those are the type of things where it's like, or the fumbles that are forced, or him forcing a wobbly pass that turns into a 4th down. Like those things can't be stated enough for him. And there's a reason, you don't just end up consensus All-American, if you're only looking at stats per se.
Yeah, he like I said, he's a guy that you have to account for every single possession. Even the last play of the Oklahoma State game, they rolled out away from him on purpose, and he still tracked down a
Backside.
athletic quarterback and made the play. Tom Herman after the OU game, they said Joseph Osai had a good game, and he corrected everyone, and he said, no, Joseph Osai had a great game. they're just the motor that he has on him too is he's going to make some NFL team extremely happy.
I actually think he's a guy who's still scratching the surface on what he can do.
He's only been playing for four-ish years.
Yeah,
right?
He hasn't been playing football very long at all. But he's a sponge. He loves ball. He loves just everything about the game. Because you have to love the game a lot in order to play the various positions that he played, and then to be able to pick that up over a very short period of time, and then also be dominant at the position you're supposed to be playing. So at the NFL level, they love versatility, especially smart teams like New England or Miami or Pittsburgh, where they play multiple.
Definitely not the Cowboys.
We could use. I mean, he's a better football player than Jalen Smith right now.
IQ wise,
better football player than Jalen Smith right now.
I wouldn't just put him in right now and say that he's better than him because he doesn't have. But you give him half a season, and I think he'll be up there. But he'll produce just the same amount that Jalen Smith does.
I tell you, he takes on blocks a lot better than just basic linebacker duties.
I'm just saying this because I want the Cowboys to draft him. That's all I'm saying. It's like.
I mean, it depends on what we decide to do. I think at 10, where we're picking, I won't be mad, or if we go to approach the secondary or anything like that. But he is going to make a team very, very happy. I think he's probably going to be in that 15 to 20 range as of right now. I think he's going to interview great. He's got a great personality. I think a lot of our guys are going to interview very well. I think people. I still hold my ground on Caden Stearns, where he's going to go higher than a lot of Texas fans think. I hold my ground on Sam Ellinger. I think the Senior Bowl is going to be huge for him and how he performs and is on the board down there. But, a lot of these guys, Sam Cosby, like you said, he's mean. He's got that mean streak as a lineman that he'll be able to show. Chris Brown is draftable. Taequan Graham is draftable. This should be a better, a little bit more promising draft for granted, Tom Herman will have nothing to show for it. And for all the people that were critical of the opt-out strand, did you notice the coach still got fired, even though we all those games that they opted out of, they blew people out to smithereens, but the coach still got fired. So I thought all the games were. It's just interesting how that all played out. But shout out to our top 10 list: Joseph Osai, Samuel Cosby, Bijan Robinson, Samuel Ellinger, DeMarvion Overshown, Chris Brown, Taequan Graham, Keadrick Coburn, Deshawn Jameson, Joshua Moore. Hopefully, we'll have some of these guys are moving. A lot of these guys are moving on, but opportunities for some new faces on the list, Tran, like Alfred Collins and Chris Adamore and some other guys who we feel are they got next on the Texas Longhorns teams. Jared Wiley.
I want him in the top 5 next year. I want him in the top 5 next year.
That's what I want.
Wow, that's top 5 next year.
That's a bold prediction.
It's not a prediction. I just want him there.
Oh.
I want to force feed him. Well, not force feed him, but he stretches defenses. He does. He causes matchup issues, and I'm hoping that we can find him 4 to 5 touches a game.
As the TE1. Well, Cade Brewer's back, so he might
the new coaching staff though. New coaching staff.
Coach Banks, we got $1 million TE coach. We're going to get it right. I'm going to leave it at that.
I agree.
I'm going to leave it at that. Coach Banks. Cheers. Cheers to the Banks family.
Welcome. Hey, if you guys have any different names on your list, let us know. We'll look at them. See?
Yeah, we'd love to see you guys as top 10 for this year. And that's how we tie the ball in the season. Good, not good enough. and that's why things happen the way they did, and that's why we've had all the drama we've had the last few months. And when again, DC TBD, but we'll get there. And it's time for the new regime. A lot of you have been suggesting video ideas and whatnot. Again, once I know what the staff is looking like, I can start making my projections on what I think things will shape out. I don't even know what defense we're running, let alone who's calling it, right? So it's all that stuff is coming, especially going to the spring. We have a lot of cool stuff on this channel. That's why you guys need to subscribe and get on board. Some collaborations that we have coming, some people we're going to be starting to interview on the channel, other channels we're going to be working with, that goes into collaborations, but podcasts that we're going to be making some appearances on in the soon and near future. So a lot of cool things we got brewing behind the scenes to please the fans. More live streams. Hopefully get to a point where we'll even be able to host you guys via call, right? And have more little sports talk radio banter. So things of that sort that, you guys helping support us, we can deliver those things to you. So Tran, thank you for doing this with me. Another year in the books.
Always so much fun. So much fun.
A lot of fun, man. A lot of fun. So
just the prep. If we had a video camera on just the prep, yes.
Dude, we were prepping, but we were on a whole nother. Oh my goodness.
Had nothing to do with Texas football.
Nothing to do with Texas football. Just talking entertainment stuff. So anyway, we will be back with the DC announcement, which hopefully comes soon, maybe before the inauguration. Who knows? And we'll talk about it. Guys, appreciate y'all. Horns over.